Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the scariest and most unsettling movie visuals that occur in the background.
No, I haven't got any change.
Number 30, The Plane Explosion, Final Destination.
There they go. Here we stay.
Unlike the other Final Destination films, which make elaborate 20-minute set pieces out of their main accident, the first film gets it done and over within seconds. And in the background, no less. Alex has his premonition and freaks out, forcing all of his friends off the plane. They then watch the plane depart, most of them obviously not believing his preternatural ability to read the future. And just as Alex and Carter are fighting, the plane blows up in the background, sending people flying and windows shattering. It's a brilliant and creative way of filming the sequence, making the horrible event feel more realistic, and having it occur through the perspective of our shocked and disbelieving protagonists. Number 29, Bruno, in Kanto.
We don't talk about Bruno, no, no, no. We don't talk about Bruno.
Who says kids' movies can't be creepy? We Don't Talk About Bruno was the runaway hit of Encanto, a boppy salsa number about the black sheep of the Madrigal family. Dolores sings about Bruno living inside the walls of the casita, which is super creepy in and of itself. But it gets even worse. Eagle-eyed viewers can see Bruno himself skulking around on the upper level, sneaking past with his back hunched and then dancing to Dolores' singing. This visual could easily unsettle younger viewers, especially considering its stalker vibe and the hunched, cloaked appearance of Bruno. Still, that little dance he does is pretty darned adorable.
Always let the abuela in the family fumbling, grappling with prophecies they couldn't understand. Do you understand?
Number 28, The Car Adaptation.
This last year's been a dream. I'm telling you, finally pulling out of debt.
Amen, honey. I'm so proud of you too.
Writer Charlie Kaufman and director Spike Jonze love playing with meta-narrative and self-referential storytelling throughout adaptation, creating a dreamy and surreal atmosphere, which only makes the sudden brutality of the LaRoche car crash that much more effective. The crash happens abruptly, without the usual cinematic buildup or foreshadowing, abandoning all aspects of surrealism and going straight to, well, normal realism. The car appears in the background just milliseconds before the crash occurs, catching the audience off guard and making it feel disturbingly visceral. It reminds viewers of a real car crash, especially that brief jolt of adrenaline that occurs in the space between sensing danger and the danger occurring.
I killed my mom, and my uncle. That's how I lost my front teeth. And my wife was in a coma for like 3 weeks.
Number 27, Peeking Through the Door, Creep.
Can I ask you a question and you'll answer me honestly?
Okay.
When you saw that axe out front of the house, was there a small part of you that thought I might kill you with it?
A wonderful little horror movie, Creep follows Aaron, a freelance videographer who has an unsettling run-in with, well, a creep. Aaron returns home after a very unsettling day with a man calling himself Joseph, but the scares don't end there. Aaron receives a number of weird things in the mail and soon begins hearing sounds outside of his house, prompting him to grab a knife and go on the defense. He stands still to listen, but the second he moves, we see Joseph standing outside of the door watching Aaron. The way the scene is filmed is highly effective, especially considering the lack of music or screechy jump scare cues. He just appears in the silence, adding a highly unsettling sense of realism to the scene.
Hello? Joseph? Hello? If there's anyone?
Number 26, They're Here, The Birds.
Rustlety, now, now, now. With every stroke she shed a tear.
Ristlety, rustlety, hey Johnny, dostlety, restlety, go quality, ristlety, rustlety, now, now, now.
Considered one of the finest thrillers ever made, The Birds is still effective all these decades later, and it's thanks to inventive sequences like this. Melanie Daniels takes a seat on a wooden bench in order to smoke a cigarette. Just as she's taking it out, a single crow lands on the playground behind her. This plays out in the background, and like Melanie, we think nothing of it. But then a few more arrive, and then a few more. The suspense builds, and just as the tension reaches a boiling point, both the audience and Melanie see that the playground is absolutely covered in crows. Turns out this Alfred Hitchcock fellow is a pretty good director. Number 25, The Walking Figure, Chernobyl Diaries.
Just urban legend, man. They say this place isn't really abandoned.
Well, obviously the radiation hasn't killed everything.
Brad Parker's Chernobyl Diaries has quite an interesting premise, with American tourists visiting the abandoned city of Pripyat, home to the famous Chernobyl nuclear disaster. Creepy shenanigans follow. In one effective sequence, 4 of the tourists are talking on a dark road, discussing the merits of the urban legends surrounding the creepy city. And just as they're discussing the weird goings-on of their trip, a figure walks silently past in the background. This goes completely unnoticed by any of the characters, until it makes a noise, that is.
I swear there was something in a photo I took the other day. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but yeah.
See
there's
the photo?
shadows. It didn't make sense.
There's something
at the
else
time.
going
Nothing
on
had
here, man.
happened then.
Listen, okay? Listen.
There's just something about being stalked in the dark that unlocks a primal fear response in all of us, and this scene effectively unlocks that response. Number 24, The Morning Walk, Shaun of the Dead.
Do you want anything from the shop?
Cornetto.
Edgar Wright is a creative director, and he crafts a mesmerizing 1-2 punch with Shaun's morning walks. In the first go-round, Shaun stumbles to the corner store in a daze to pick up a Coke. He's in his own world, barely noticing a single thing going on around him, which only makes the payoff that much more rewarding. Shaun later walks to the same store while he's hungover, only this time in the middle of a zombie outbreak. He mindlessly wanders past shuffling zombies, open doors, and bloody corpses, all of which are tucked away in the background of the scene. He doesn't even notice that the shop is completely barren, minus the zombie proprietor who emerges from the back room just as he's leaving.
Nelson, have you got any papers? Nelson. I owe you about 15p.
Number 23, The Killer's Face, Deep Red. Considered a defining work in the giallo genre, Deep Red is full of brutal gore and inventive camera work, like hiding the killer in a mirror as it passes by. Psychic Helda Ullman is murdered by someone wearing black gloves, and a passing jazz pianist named Marcus sees this from the street. He rushes to Helga's apartment in an attempt to help, passing through a hallway of mirrors and paintings. In one, the image of a woman's face can briefly be seen. This passes by unnoticed in the moment, but it soon becomes a major focus of the plot and is referenced in the climax of the film. As we eventually discover, that woman was actually the killer hiding from the investigative Marcus. Number 22, The Vampire in the Shadows, Nosferatu. We've seen the Dracula tale played out 1,000 times before, but Robert Eggers managed to film it in a fresh and unique way, resulting in the fantastically scary Nosferatu. Like the source novel, Count Orlok stows away on a ship and murders all of its inhabitants. Fearing for their lives, one crewman goes below deck to kill Orlok in his casket. He traverses the dark with just a single lantern to guide him, so you know something's about to go down. Sure enough, just as he's approaching the box, Orlok's decayed back can be seen slithering to life in the background. It's a stirring visual, and it nicely prepares us for the bloody violence that is about to come. Number 21, The Shark, Jaws.
Stop playing with yourself, Hooper. Slow ahead, if you please.
You heard him. Slow ahead.
One of the most famous jump scares in movie history occurs entirely in the background, which is really pretty genius when you think about it. You all know it. Brody is throwing bloody chum into the water, hoping to attract Jaws, while at the same time arguing with Quint and straying his eyes from the water. So naturally, he doesn't see the massive shark approaching. The brilliant thing about this scare isn't its suddenness, but the fact that you can actually see Jaws underneath the water for a split second before he emerges. It's a great little detail that foretells the coming jump scare, yet it catches us, and Brody, completely off guard.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Number 20. Ghost Boy, Insidious. After the Lamberts move into a new home to escape the supernatural activity, Renee spots a little ghost boy through the window dancing to Tiptoe Through the Tulips. It's a creepy sequence, and it establishes that the supernatural activity has followed them to their new house. But did you know that the ghost can actually be seen before Renee spots him? After Renee starts the record, the camera follows her through the house as she tidies up. As she's tossing clothes in the laundry hamper, you can see the boy standing just to her left and facing the wall. Why he was doing that, we have no idea, but it made our hearts freeze, we can tell you that.
There's something wrong with this place. I'm not imagining it. I can feel it. It's like a sickness. Ever since we've moved in, everything's just gone wrong.
Number 19, an ambiguous figure. It follows. One of the most haunting moments of It Follows comes at the very end. Viewers are led to believe that Paul has passed on the sexually transmitted supernatural curse to a sex worker. But as Jay and Paul walk down a suburban street, seemingly safe at last, a figure soon appears in the distance, falling into step behind them. Is it someone out for a stroll, or is it the killer entity? Did Paul pass it on or not? Has the entity killed the sex worker and now returned for Paul? There's a lot of ambiguity to this scene, but that's what makes it so scary. If there's one thing the ending proves, it's that there's some things you can't outrun. Number 18, A Pale Face, The Woman in Black. This old-fashioned gothic horror story is complete with an Edwardian setting and a haunted estate called Eel Marsh House. The movie strikes a great balance between in-your-face jump scares and more subtle threats, as is the case with this scene. Daniel Radcliffe's Arthur Kipps sees a creepy face in an upstairs window, so he goes to investigate. He finds nothing in the room, but when he looks outside, the woman's face suddenly appears behind him in the window. The soundtrack definitely draws attention to it, but it's still a super creepy scene, and that pale ghostly face will stick with you long after the credits roll. Number 17, Demon in the Picture Frame, Poltergeist. To watch Poltergeist is to discover a world of often disquieting behind-the-scenes insights. This horror franchise has had influence for more than 30 years and can still be felt in pop culture today. One particularly horrific moment in the film occurs in the background in the scene just before the spirits wreak havoc on the house. A group of normal family photos sit behind Jobeth Williams as she innocently blow-dries her hair, but after the clown attacks her son Robbie, a ghost-like face has taken over one of the pictures. Number 16, Toshio in the Door, Ju-on, The Grudge. Few villains can compare to the horrifying, pale, and wide-eyed Kayako Seiki. Seiki is the vengeful ghost that haunts the house in Nerima, and many of her scenes, like crawling down the staircase and hiding under the bedsheets, are now iconic. But there are also many subtle scares that are littered throughout. One of the best involves Toshio, also known as the little boy ghost. While getting some fresh air outside the nursing home, Saito starts playing peekaboo with no one in particular, much to the concern of Rika. When the camera cuts to the glass door, we get a very brief glimpse of Toshio standing next to Saito in the reflection. It's enough to send chills down your spine. Number 15, The Psycho Car, Halloween H2O, 20 years later. This slasher sequel was riddled with Easter eggs and nods to horror history. One of the best comes when Laurie's secretary Norma drops by for a visit.
Oh! Damn it! Oh, Miss Tate, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to make you jump.
Norma is played by Jamie Lee Curtis's mother, Janet Leigh, who starred in the seminal Psycho as Marion Crane. The iconic Psycho car can be spotted in the background as Norma talks to Laurie at the academy.
We've all had bad things happen to us. The trick is to concentrate on today.
The car is later made the clear focus of attention as Norma departs and wishes Laurie a happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween!
It's a creepy, self-referential nod to both Lee and the genre's past. Even her character's name, Norma, is a not-so-subtle allusion to Psycho's famed antagonist, Norman Bates. Number 14, The Party, Jacob's Ladder. Adrian Lyne's classic Jacob's Ladder is full of surreal sequences, including this scene in which Jacob attends a party.
See, according to this, you're already dead.
Things begin innocently enough as everyone dances to the glorious funk of James Brown, but things inevitably go to hell as Jacob begins experiencing disturbing visions. The main focus of the scene is Jesse dancing with some kind of tentacle monster. That's certainly disturbing, but what makes the sequence even scarier are the people innocently dancing in the background, completely oblivious to Jesse and the tentacle. It makes the scene that much more surreal and unsettling, capturing that distinctly helpless feeling often experienced when having a nightmare. Number 13, The Approaching Truck, Jeepers Creepers.
Those bodies down there, that's what it likes to call it. It's House of Pain.
This monster movie received mediocre reviews from critics who mostly denounced the cliches and silly monster action. That said, most agreed that the film had a very encouraging start, and that's largely due to the brilliant opening sequence. As Trish and Derry drive home for spring break, they are tormented by an erratic driver in a rusty truck. That alone is scary enough, but what makes the sequence even more unsettling is the subtle way in which the truck approaches the protagonists.
I wanted to cry, didn't know you were evil, or that you would hurt me.
It begins as an indistinct blur in the background before slowly growing in stature, coming into focus and blaring its horn.
Jesus. What the hell's his problem?
Just get out of his way, Derry!
It's a wonderful way to introduce the movie's villain, and it makes for a gloriously creepy opening scene. Number 12, The Ghost, Lake Mungo.
It was a somber day for the family and friends of Alice Palmer, who gathered to pay their final respects to a young woman taken too soon.
At its core, Lake Mungo is a ghost story about a deceased girl named Alice attempting to communicate with her family. Believing that her ghost has passed on, Alice's family decides to move out of the family home to start a new life. However, the ending photo shows Alice's ghost forlornly looking from the window, a creepy background detail that proves Alice hasn't moved on. What makes the ending even better are the credits themselves, which show various sightings of Alice's ghost throughout the movie that went unnoticed by the characters and viewers. It's meant as a thematic statement, but it's also utterly shocking and terrifying to realize that the ghost was there the entire time, right under your nose. Number 11, The Club, Black Swan. Darren Aronofsky's psychological horror film Black Swan is another movie with a terrifying dance sequence. And though this one is much more difficult to make out owing to the darkness, strobing lights and rapid cuts, the scene is packed with subtle scares that risk going unnoticed. These include Rothbart and the White Swan standing in the background behind Nina, Beth standing between Nina and Lily, and Thomas eerily changing into Rothbart. It represents fantastic directing from Darren Aronofsky and editing by Andrew Weisblum, disorienting and disturbing viewers in ways both apparent and subliminal. Number 10, The Hanging Munchkin, The Wizard of Oz. This movie is historic, and it just happens to contain one of the most ubiquitous legends in film history.
No, I know we're not in Kansas.
We're talking, of course, about the so-called Hanging Munchkin. As Dorothy and her ragtag group head towards Emerald City, you can supposedly see a munchkin hanging from a tree. Legend says that an actor had killed himself during filming, and his hanging corpse had accidentally made its way into the movie.
We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
In actuality, the corpse is just a big bird that was borrowed from the Los Angeles Zoo and allowed to roam the set to give it a more authentic appearance. Regardless of the truth, there's no denying the staying power and inherent creepiness of the suicidal Munchkin legend.
You're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
Number 9, Tyler Durden, Fight Club. Sure, Fight Club isn't a scary movie per se, but there's some creepy stuff going on.
Hey, come on. I'm in pain.
You want to see pain? Swing by First Methodist Tuesday nights. See the guys with testicular cancer. That's pain.
Before we're introduced to Tyler Durden on the plane, he can be spotted in the hospital, the support group, on the street, and in the narrator's office.
Really open ourselves up. Did you find a partner?
Each flash is very brief, almost imperceptible, but it would surely come as quite an eerie shock for all of those who did manage to spot him. It's enough to make viewers question their sanity, especially since at this point, they don't know who this man is or why he keeps popping up. Of course, it's meant to foreshadow the narrator's mental disorder and the eventual plot twist, hammering home the absolute brilliance of director David Fincher.
You created me. I didn't create some loser alter ego to make myself feel better. Take some responsibility. I do.
Number 8, The Demon's Face, The Exorcist. The Exorcist is widely heralded as the scariest movie of all time, yet it isn't really about the exorcism itself.
Carlos, sorry, everybody wants to speak to you, Mama. I'm so glad to
You look
see
good.
you. I'm all right.
How's your
How
leg?
about you, Timmy? You are all right?
Fine, Mama.
It's more about Father Damien Karras' crisis of faith and the deep feelings of guilt that he harbors regarding his mother's death. In one of Karras' creepy dreams, he tries waving to his deceased mother as she emerges from the subway. Right before Karras runs towards her, the screen very briefly flashes with the ghastly white face of the demon. It's incredibly subtle, and it makes viewers question if they even saw anything in the first place. This was fully intentional by director William Friedkin.
We may ask what is relevant, but anything beyond that is dangerous. He's a liar. The demon is a liar. He will like to confuse us. But he will also mix lies with the truth to attack us.
Number 7, The Doll, Blue Velvet. Dennis Hopper gives one of the finest performances of his storied career in David Lynch's Blue Velvet.
Oh, Mommy, Mommy, Mommy. Mommy loves you.
He plays Frank Booth, an extremely violent and unhinged criminal who keeps Dorothy Valent's family hostage so he can use her as a slave. He keeps them confined in the apartment belonging to a criminal associate named Ben. Ben's apartment contains a creepy doll with a white face, black eyes, and women's clothes.
Oh, Frank, this is a fine surprise. You brought your friends. I love surprises.
Like the upside-down paintings in Lynch's Lost Highway, this doll is given no explanation and is never acknowledged within the context of the movie. It's just another one of Lynch's creepy and mysterious details that lends the movie a disturbing atmosphere.
Blue velvet.
Number 6, The Ghost Boy, 3 Men and a Baby. This movie contains what is perhaps the greatest urban legend in movie history, even greater than that of the Hanging Munchkin.
You pick her up like a pro.
I pick her up like a grandmother.
During a scene in which Jack and his mother walk through the house, a very creepy human figure can be seen standing behind the curtains and staring at the passing characters.
For a moment there, I had her laughing.
Yeah, just like me, huh?
For unsuspecting viewers, it's enough to make you scream, and an urban legend quickly spread claiming that the figure was the ghost of a young boy who ended his life in the house. However, the ghost boy is actually just a cardboard cutout of Ted Danson's character. The cutout is clearly seen later in the film, this time in far less creepy form. Number 5. Michael Drives By, Halloween. Michael Myers is one of the most iconic killers in movie history. As such, it's kind of hard to imagine him just driving through town like any other citizen, but that's exactly what he does throughout the movie.
Morning, Miss Tate. Morning, Norma. Mail and messages are on your desk.
One of the most creative scares comes when Sheriff Brackett and Loomis are talking on the sidewalk. Just before Brackett leaves the shot, a car can be seen stopping at the train tracks in the background. Keen viewers may spot Michael's iconic mask looking out from the windshield, but he becomes even more obvious when he drives by Loomis. It's a perfect representation of the movie's horror. Evil is always here, lurking and watching, even in broad daylight. Number 4. Annie on the Ceiling, Hereditary. Horror movies have different ways of scaring their audience, and Hereditary uses just about all of them. There are upfront, in-your-face scares, there are grotesque images, and there are scenes requiring audience perception. After Annie inadvertently burns Steve alive and gets possessed, Peter wakes up in the darkened and eerily silent house. As the camera cuts to a long shot of his bedroom, viewers can spot Annie hovering in the corner of the ceiling and staring at Peter. What's great about this sequence is that it doesn't draw attention to Annie's presence. The audience is simply left to spot her on their own, and when they do, they are given the scare of a lifetime. Number 3. The Strangers. There have been many slasher and home invasion movies throughout the years, but there's something particularly unsettling about Brian Bertino's The Strangers. Inspired by the infamous Tate murders, this movie cuts to the core of our most primal fears. It is exemplified in the shot of a shadowed stranger standing behind Kristen. It's easily the most famous image from the movie, even making the theatrical poster. It not only plays on our fear of domestic intrusion, but also of being watched without our knowledge. It's the reaction of looking over your shoulder made into visual form, and it is absolutely horrifying. Number 2. The Falling Satellite, Cloverfield. This is the mother of all background details, so subdued and indistinguishable that we wonder how anyone even spotted it at all. The movie ends with old footage of Rob and Beth filming themselves at a carnival.
What do you want to say? Last thing to begin.
I had a good day.
It seems like a bittersweet ending, reminding viewers of happier times. But there's another reason behind its inclusion. If you look very closely, and we mean very closely, you can see a satellite falling from the sky and crashing into the ocean. This is a satellite called Chimpanzee 3, and it was included as a reference to the movie's viral marketing campaign. However, others posit that it could be the monster itself arriving from space, the escape pod from the Cloverfield paradox, or even a fragment of the Shepherd.
She can't wait to see you. She's coming back.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. The Librarian, It. Most people know It for Pennywise's abrasive and confrontational method of horror.
This isn't real enough for you, Billy. I'm not real enough for you.
Holy shit.
It wasn't real enough for Georgie.
But there's one scene in the movie that takes a far more subdued approach, and it's arguably scarier than anything Pennywise could have concocted. While Ben is reading about Derry's past in the library, the elder librarian can be seen in the background turning towards Ben and staring at him with a deeply unsettling grin. She remains out of focus the whole time, and the movie never highlights her disconcerting behavior. It's an ingenious little detail that shows the evil permeating throughout Derry and proves that no one is ever safe, even when they think they are. Now that's how you do horror. Did you happen to notice any of these on your own? Let us know in the comments.
That's a 20-footer.
25.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.